Hello guys, this is Rez. Welcome to a layout series. Today we're going to start talking about the main layout you can ever touch, and that's the relative layout. What is the relative layout? It's basically a way of distributing everything by relative family. So what I mean by this is everything is going to be positioned somehow on your display relative to something else, right? So I added three things here. You guys could add it, drag and drop wherever you want. We're going to kind of discuss about all how this relative thing works, okay? And it's important because you're going to be playing with it and it's kind of hard to do it in the GUI. This is where we come back to the XML and we try to edit it. So the first thing you need to understand is when you drag these items, how does this relative thing work? Well, first thing, I drag it in a text view and I said hello world in there. Notice a couple things. One, there's an arrow going out from it, and then there's an arrow coming to it. Okay, the arrow going out from it, this is basically saying, hey, this is relative to this other thing that it's pointing to, and in this case it's pointing to my activity or my relative layout or the top of my relative layout. Okay, and then you see there's another arrow coming in. That arrow coming in is saying basically there's something else that's relative to me, right? So what happens when you move a student in a classroom and there's another guy on the side of him that's relative to him? Well, you're basically moving all of those people, right? So if I move my hello world, look at my edit text, which is the one that's relative to my hello world. If I move it here, it moves too. It also moves left. Why? Well, because it has a alignment arrow on the left side. So it's saying, hey, this is relative alignment to that one. All right, so layout, please take care of it for me. Okay, we're going to see that in a bit. Now, as I move my hello world, you see edit text moves. Notice that the button doesn't move. Well, because button is not relative to any of those, right? If we select it, it's only relative to the bottom. Now, what happens if I move my edit text? Well, notice it doesn't move my hello world. Why? Well, because hello world is not reliant on this edit text. It's actually reliant on my activity, right? So the arrow is going out, but nothing is going out towards this. If I wanted to, I could drag it a bit, see if I could make those arrow relative to it. Okay, it's kind of hard. This is why the GUI is not the best thing to use, and so forth, so on. Well, actually, it's kind of hard to make it reliant on that because this is already reliant on it. So if I take off the reliance, then it's going to be easier. You see, now I could rely on it. So now if I move my edit text, my hello world would move too. And if I want, I could set the margin, the alignment of my edit text too, right? Now let's go see the XML or the text version of all this. Notice again, my three widgets are here and everything has an Android and, well, a property that starts with Android colon something, okay? So the first one we want to kind of talk about is the Android colon ID. Now every widget you have, it being the layout or it being a button or an image button or an image or etc., it was going to have a unique ID. What it means by unique ID, it's a way to point towards that guy or address that person the same way we could address each other by names inside the classroom, right? So this must be unique. In my case, I went forward and I named them A, B, and C. Oh, wait, I forgot to name the rest. B and C. Okay? Now, the first thing you're going to notice is a bunch of errors are going to pop up. Well, because we already set relative alignments and relative positioning inside my design with those specific different IDs, right? So this text view we currently see, it was actually aligned to my edit text, which is currently named C. But here it thinks it's named edit text. So all we got to do is change that to C, right? And now we see it went back to alignments. Okay, same for this. This time it says, well, hey, the edit text should be below my text view, which is B. So again, we're going to go here, rename it to B, right? And if we wanted to, we add the image button. Well, actually, let's do something special here. What is relative to what? Okay, So the hello world currently, we're just gonna drag it out a bit, or actually drag my edit text out so it's not relative to my hello world. The pain, the pain, the pain. So let's just go here. Now I want to show you something. When I'm going to delete this, I'm going to say it's not below it, okay? So what's going to happen is it's going to lose the relatively, right? But there's still other layouts assignments done, right? Layout margin top, layout align to parent start true. Notice anything you add to any layouts, the first thing it's going to do, if there is no setups or anything, it's going to set it at the top left of your layout. That's the default location for all the different layouts. Okay. Currently, I have edit text that's not relative to anything, and hello world that's currently relative to that, and my button that's relative to edit text. We could actually change my hello world, which is this one. Rather than saying, hey, you're relative to B, well, sorry, actually it doesn't, it's not relative to anything, because here it says, hey, it's aligned to the parent top. We're gonna say, hey, you're gonna be the same way we said for the other one, the button. You're gonna be right below my button, right? So we're gonna go and do this. So Android colon, really use the IntelliSense. Don't make mistakes for no reason. Now, remember last video we talked about layout parameters. This is all the layout parameters available to us, right? And if you scroll down, we even have more, because this is specific to relative layout and specific to the text view. Okay, so going back to this, we want to be right under something. So align, no. We want to be, do you see it? There's above. I want to be below, right? So let's just start typing it. So I want to be below what? Well, let's go grab, and if you look, the IntelliSense is kind of showing us all the stuff available to us. And if you have a specific ID that's not being shown, or you're going to create it, just go with ID / and type it in. But currently we know that our image button is called A. So we're going to go select A, and if you notice, it's still not doing it because we're still missing some stuff. Could it be this? I hate when I play around with it. There we go. So it was saying, hey, you needed to align the parent at what was it? Align parent to the top. Okay, but because it's under the other stuff, it's not gonna work like that. Anyway, so play around with these. Try a couple stuff. Notice before you move on that there's a lot of these margins. So it says on top of this, there's gonna be 83 pixel, denso pixel, whatever. Denso density, no, pixel density. Anyway, there's gonna be this much of a margin. So if you want, just change that, and you'll notice the margin, the distance between what it's below of, it's gonna change, right? So the more I make it, the more the distance it's gonna have between edit text, right? So if you notice that arrow keeps changing, okay? So these are stuff to consider when you're doing this. So try a few times, play around with this, and we're gonna come back later on and do more examples and maybe a couple activities together. So I'll see you in the next video where we talk about the next layout. Cheers, guys, and subscribe. Don't forget about subscribing.